Thank you for joining. Going to give everyone a few moments to hop on. What's up? So you guys are going to see me on going back and forth between a couple of different systems here. So right here is YouTube. Over here is TikTok. So I want to thank you all for joining me on today. We're going to give people a little time to join. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. There is a little insight. I want you to, if you're joining now, to go ahead and grab yourself something to take notes with for today. We're going to be talking about disabilities, ability over disability, celebrating strengths over mental health. So going to send out a couple of messages here and make sure everybody is connected. Make sure everyone is connected so we can have a party. A party. Let's see. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for joining here. I am Veranda Bellamy, the creator of Happyology. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. If you can hear me okay, just go ahead and if you're on TikTok, just tap your screen. Let me know. Send me some hearts. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and just make some comments there. Say Happyology. That's all you got to say. Just comment Happyology, 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 Happyology. And so I want to thank you all for joining us today. So again, if you're just joining, let me see if I could set a goal here on TikTok. I don't know if we can I say that? I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if we're doing this right. So this is my first time. Cabby Man, thank you for joining. I definitely appreciate you joining. So I am Veranda Bellamy. I want you to hold up. Don't go anywhere, okay? Because you want to hear what's going to be shared today. We are talking about a very important topic on today. I want you to pull out a note on your phone if that's easiest for you. If you're like me, that's an easy way for you to kind of take notes on a particular subject or what have you. If you want to write things down, whatever's right for you, do that. But class is officially in session. Thank you for joining here. I want to welcome you to Friday Live with your host. I am Veranda Bellamy of Happyology. Again, hold up. If you're just coming in, you want to hear what is being shared today. Sit back. I want you to get comfy. I want you to take notes as well, because I might have a pop-up quiz at the end. I don't know. I'm kind of geekish like that a little bit. So there may be some questions I ask as a result of what's being shared today. So thank you all for joining me on today. I am Veranda Brooks Bellamy. Maybe this is your first time seeing me live, but I am Veranda Brooks Bellamy, the founder and creator of Happyology and The Relevancy Factor. You may hear either one of those, in which I provide personal development, mental health, and business advising service. Keita, thank you for joining me. I specialize in helping you discover your happiness beyond trauma. Happyology's emphasis is on the importance of mental health as well as general well-being. So for today, we're going to be discussing ability over disability, celebrating strengths over mental health. Our language really does, if you think about someone that you know that may have some type of disability, whether it's a mental health disability, it could be a physical health disability as well. But I just want you to kind of get that visual in your mind of someone that you may know that's dealing with some type of limitations and the stigmas around that. So for today, I just want to remind you that your language really does help to set the parameters by which a person is able to, successfully really overcome whatever their diagnosis might be. By using phrases like ability over disability, we kind of emphasize the capabilities and the strengths actually of that individual rather than their limitations, right? So you think about someone that may have, I don't know, a diagnosis of, bipolar disorder, right? And that's one of those strong diagnoses that people really kind of shy away from. No one wants to, be diagnosed as bipolar. And they use terms like, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, like you're crazy or I feel crazy. I don't want that diagnosis and things like that. But once you have the diagnosis, if it is your diagnosis, we got to embrace it so that you can begin to get the help that you need to function better in life, and be more successful in life. And so you really want to, if that is a friend of yours or family, or even if it's you, changing your language from disability to ability, and that in which the ways that you are navigating that particular diagnosis, right? So our language is everything. We want to emphasize capabilities, the strengths of the individual rather than their limitations. And one thing that we can do to help shift that language is to reduce stigma and promote understanding. So if that is you that's diagnosed with some type of limitation or some type of disability, you want to reduce the stigma and promote the understanding. So give understanding and more insight into whatever your diagnosis is. Eric, thank you for joining me here. Hello, thank you for joining. Where are you guys located? Let me know what state you're in, what country you're in. And so we're talking about today, ability over disability and celebrating strengths over mental health. I am Veranda Bellamy, the creator of Happyology, in which this community is all things happiness. It's you understanding how to be happy or learning how to be happy despite your trauma. And so we want to change some of the dialogue that we're having, some of the conversations that we're having regarding any type of diagnosis, and make sure that we're speaking to the positive side of things. And if you are diagnosed with something, be willing to embrace whatever that diagnosis is, because that also can help you to move forward. Like that's probably one of the first steps in change, is embracing whatever your diagnosis may be. We want to collectively as a community learn to reduce the stigma, promote understanding, bring insight. If you're diagnosed with bipolar disorder, talk about it. How are you navigating? How did it show up for you? You're in therapy now. You're taking medication possibly now, if that's necessary, not always necessary. But give understanding to whatever the diagnosis is, because that helps people to really just understand deeper what it is that you're dealing with, right? And when someone understands, once you get understanding, you can really kind of shift your perspective about whatever that thing may be. Thank you for joining, Jennifer. If you guys are on, if you can just tap the screen, let me know that you're here. I would appreciate that. Share it out, invite some friends. We're talking about mental health one here today. And so examples of mental illness with a stigma include when people make comments like you're crazy or you're schizophrenic or you're bipolar schizophrenic. You can't be depressed. You're so happy, right? There's so many stigmas out there that exist. Macy, thank you for joining. And it's so many different diagnoses that exist that really, or comments that exist that can really shift a person in the most negative way towards their healing, right? And so when you are around people, you really want to think about those that you are engaged with, people that you may see even in a store that you may notice some type of disability. How are you going to interact with that person, right? Because we're all in one community, no matter where you are in this world. We are one country, right? And we are of a human nature. We are human beings, and that is the commonality. And so however God has blessed you to show up in this world, you want to be able to show up in that way freely, without stigmas, without being without having feeling like you are limited in just being authentically yourself, because that really does say, when you have to shy away from what God has done in your life or how he's blessed you, then that really does say that God has made a mistake. And is that the message that we really want to send, is that God made a mistake, right? We all serve a God that has created all of us and everything. And so we know that he does not make mistakes. I want to thank you for joining me here, Ebony Girl. Where you located, tap the screen, let me know that you are on. If you want to share the live out, feel free to do that as well. And so when you think about someone, the last time you saw someone that may be schizophrenic, someone walking and maybe talking to themselves, right? And you think about how you respond to that, right? And just being real with yourself. Do you, kind of snicker under your breath? Do you say, oh, that person is definitely crazy? What are some of those things that you say yourself when you are around someone that has some type of mental diagnosis? And so really dealing with your internal struggle with that. Why is it that you feel the need to even do any of those things? Whether it's, you decide to snicker, you decide to make negative comments like they're crazy, or even someone that is happy. Sometimes people perceive happiness. Pamela, thank you for joining. RBI, thank you for joining as well. Sometimes people perceive when a person is happy that they can't be depressed. You can have depression and be happy at the same time. You absolutely can, which is why the Happyology community has been created, is because these things too can exist at the same time, but you definitely need the support to kind of help you get over some of the trauma that you have dealt with in your life, whether it was sexual, physical, emotional, whatever that might be. We are all striving to be better. We're all striving. I'm striving, you're striving, your kids are striving, your parents, everybody collectively is trying to learn how to function better, be better in this society, right? And we have so many things that bombard us from so many different directions within the world as a whole that influences how we show up. Or the things that we say or don't say, for that matter as well. Alpha, thank you for joining. If you guys are on, if you could tap the screen, let me know that you're here. Share the live out as well. But so many things that influence us in our decisions and our perceptions, right, about the world and people that we are in community with, whether globally or locally. And so this live is really to encourage you all to avoid, enhancing stigmas, or seeing people with limitations and beginning to judge them or try to critique them, and then compare yourself to them. Because sometimes, let's just be real about it, right? Evil child, thank you for joining. God bless you. So sometimes when we see things that are different than what we're used to seeing, it can make us feel better about ourselves. And so if that is you, then I want to ask you today, I'm challenging you to really look internally about what it is why is it that makes you feel better about you being who you are, right? Like what is the deficiency within you that and this is for someone here, because this wasn't even a part of the session for today. What is it within you that feels so inadequate that seeing someone suffer in whatever way that is, it makes you feel better about you? Brooke Stan, thank you for joining. Tap the screen. Let me know you guys are here. If you can share the live out as well, I would appreciate it. And so from there, what has happened to you? Is there some type of maybe you're dealing with some type of trauma? Usually trauma is at the root of so many issues that is going on within the world, and so many things that we are dealing with as individuals, whether it was a sexual abuse, whether it was a physical abuse, whether it was emotionally you were abused. That thing can still show up in your life. If it happened in childhood, it can still show up in your life at some point later. Until you deal with it. So you really have to deal with those things that have occurred in your life, okay? And so just getting back to the topic at hand, we are discussing ability over disability, celebrating strengths over mental health, right? Celebrating strengths over mental health. We want to avoid the stigmas. There are so many different types of stigmas. Researchers have identified different types of stigmas, such as public stigma, and that involves the negative or discriminatory attitudes that others may have about mental illness. Then there's a self-stigma, and that refers to the negative attitudes, including internalized shame that people with mental illness may have about their own conditions. So when someone is diagnosed, they may have a negative connotation within themselves, like they don't want the diagnosis that they actually do have. And then another identified stigma is structural stigmas, right? Bria's saying, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. If you guys can tap the screen, let me know that you're here. Structural stigmas is more systemic, right? It involves like policies of government and private organizations that intentionally or unintentionally, for that matter, limit opportunities for people with mental illness to be their best, right? So many of us can think about, different places we've been, especially within like government and private organizations where we feel like we weren't treated the best, right? There was some type of structural stigma because of whatever, is going on within us, whether you're being diagnosed with bipolar disorder or depression or whatever. Keto, thank you for joining. I appreciate you joining here. Thanks for the gift as well. And so today we're just talking about ability over disability, celebrating strengths over mental health, right? And so when you are in community, and that's again locally or globally with individuals, we want to be aware of how we're showing up. We want to be aware of what we're saying to others that may have some type of diagnosis, as simple as depression, and making side comments and saying things like, oh, you're crazy, or you're schizophrenic, or you can't be depressed and you're so happy, right? It really does speak to sometimes how we feel about ourselves, the internal things that we have going on. And so I'm not going to be before you guys long. I'm going to get ready to wrap up here in just a few moments, but I want to thank you all for joining. Thank you for liking and commenting, engaging with me on today. When we focus on stigma or disabilities, we actually decrease someone's hope for improving, right? You think about that. Like if you are focusing more on their limitations, that doesn't make you feel, if someone's focusing on your limitations, does that make you feel better? It doesn't, right? We lower their self-esteem as well, right? And so when a person is actually dealing with some type of limitation or diagnosis or what have you, a special ability, and we don't provide them the positive and nurturing support they need, that can actually lower their self-esteem. It can also increase psychiatric symptoms as well, right? So when a person is dealing with so many different diagnoses, sometimes their mind has it's wired in a way that stops them from being able to control the looping from negativity, like a spiral, if you will. And so we want to kind of be that offside, support to them that kind of shifts what they're thinking, their normal way of thinking, just to jolt them back into, focus in a more positive light, right? When you focus on the stigma or the disability, we can also create difficulties with social relationships within that person. So you think about somebody, everybody knows somebody that is dealing with some type of diagnosis, and their social relationships, when you are negative or you're not supportive of, that can also impact their social relationships, how they engage with other people. It makes them shrink. It makes them feel less than when we aren't providing that positive support to them, right? That understanding, that unbiased, right, support to that individual. It reduces their likelihood of staying with treatment. So if they're getting treatment and you're saying things like, oh, you just so crazy, right? And things, you're speaking these things over people, right? Over this person. And we know, most of us know that our mind is actually one of the strongest muscles that we have. And so when you are constantly speaking these things, people begin to believe it. When you believe it, you're going to act like it, right? So whatever you believe, your life is a mirror reflection of what's going on within your mind. And so if you have people that's around you as a ripple effect that's having negative comments or giving negative comments towards you, then you're going to believe those things. And that's going to decrease your ability to have healthy relationships outside of what you know. It's going to reduce your ability to stay committed to treatment as well. So you may at some point, someone that you know, maybe it's you, dealing with some type of mental illness, if you're in treatment and for a split second, someone makes a comment, it's not helping you. I don't see a change in you, right? From that little statement, you've created a pit hole for your brother or your sister. Is that really what you want to put out? Is that what you really want to be known for, right? From there, they will stop attending therapy. They'll stop attending treatment. If they're on medication, they may stop their medication. Wesley, user 259, thank you. Holy Michael, thank you all for joining me on here. I appreciate it. If you guys can tap the screen, share some love, let me know that you're there. I would appreciate that. And so it also increases their difficulties at work. And so when you look at it from this standpoint, ability versus disability and your impact to that in a global perspective, local perspective, right? And community locally or globally, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a family member, whether it's yourself, the question for you today is how are you going to choose to impact that? How do you want to show up? How are you going to offer support to this individual or within yourself as well, whatever your internal struggles might be? How are you going to impact it? What is the decision that you're going to make today and how you're going to influence it? So we really want to shy away from any type of stigma or having, you know, that type of negative connotation towards disabilities or people that you know that's been diagnosed with something. And we want to move towards focusing on strengths. We're going to focus on strengths within the Happyology community. Neo, thank you for joining. We are going to focus on the strength of you, on you, your strength, as well as those that you're in community with, okay? And so you can focus on the strengths by empowering the individual to take control of their mental health journey, encourage them. You see them struggling, there's something going on. Maybe they've retreated. They're not showing up like they used to. They're canceling plans with you at the last minute. If it's you, you're keeping yourself in a dark home more often than not, or you're finding yourself that you're not eating as often. Empower yourself. Empower the person that you know that's showing up this way. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate all of the love here that you guys are showing. Empower that individual. Give them some type of positive empowerment. You can do this. Have you considered going to therapy? Who's around you, like looking into their community. You're not there to be their therapist or their coach, but as a friend, you kind of have an obligation to notice when things are going wrong because you do as a friend. And if it's yourself, if you notice that you're constantly saying no or you're constantly declining calls, that too could be a trigger or indicator, that you are dealing with some type of depression. Empower yourself, empower those around you. By focusing on strengths, we can also encourage self-advocacy, which is what I was just saying, and self-care. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is not just getting your nails done, which I am long overdue for. I'm going to make time for it real soon. But taking care of yourself, making sure that you are attending your medical appointments, making sure that you're having healthy drinks like this green drink here that I have started drinking. It's actually really yummy and extremely, extremely healthy. I'm going to share a video that shows you guys how I made this drink, and you can try it at home. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And by focusing on strengths, we can break down stigmas and promote understanding. I have an interview, so I'm going to get ready to get off of here in just a few moments. By focusing on strengths, we can foster a supportive community that values diversity, and we include everyone because we're one nation under God, right? We are one nation, no matter where you are on this planet. We are human nature. We are human beings having a human experience. That is our commonality. That makes us one community together. So with all of that being said, we want to celebrate resilience for you, for your neighbor that is choosing to be happy, even though they might be dealing with depression, even though they may be going through a divorce, even though they're trying to figure out where they are in their walk with God. We want to celebrate you for being resilient, for showing up, for raising awareness, promoting understanding. We want to celebrate you by encouraging others to seek help and support. We want to create a culture of being inclusive and accepting others as they are, right? And that's really what we are all about here. I want to encourage you guys right now. I want to give you this invitation. Your homework number one is if you asking yourself, Am I pro ability or am I pro disability? That's your homework. And then I want you to join our movement here with Happyology. You can find me anywhere online. I am Veronda Bellamy. Okay. Together, I do believe, and I believe this is one of my life's work. Together, we can create a community, a culture that values ability over disability. And you can join this movement by sharing your story. You can message me, send me a message directly. And Kichi, thank you for joining. Chubby, thank you for joining. Just Signature, thank you guys for joining me here. Share your story. Send me a message. Send me, if I don't know you, do not, and I didn't ask you to join as a co-host, do not do that. Okay, so declined. Don't do that. That's disrespectful. Share your story and experiences. Support others on their mental health journey as well. Use inclusive language like, we got you. You got this, right? We're all in this together, because at the end of the day, no matter where you fall on the spectrum of your beliefs, we're still in this all together. If you go to China and you're from America, you're still in this together, no matter where you are on this planet. So you want to use inclusive language, okay? You want to advocate for mental health resources and support. If you don't know where to send them somebody, you can send them right over here to Happyology, send them right over here to us. We love supporting. This is what we are called to do. We want to see you win, and we want to show you how to be happy despite being depressed. We want to show you how to be happy despite any diagnosis that you may have, because you can. And the thing is, people think that you are your diagnosis. Your diagnosis is just an indicator of the areas that you need to focus on and what you need to work on. And with that, once you have that, now you have the knowledge, you have the diagnosis, and now you can get the help that you really need to support you towards having the life that you really desire. So I want to thank you all for joining. I hope that you guys have found a lot of value here in Happyology. I'm going to be coming back with more Friday Lives. If you guys want to join me, you can go to my site, verondabellamy.com. Make sure you sign up for Friday Live, register for that so that you get notifications as well. And if you're looking for someone to work with, you can do that too on verondabellamy.com. But thank you all for joining me on today. I'm going to try to hang these up, and you can visit me online at verondabellamy.com. I'll catch you on the next live.